going on, Internet? What's going on? And how's everybody doing tonight?
Good evening, World Wide Web.
Good evening. Good
Yeah.
evening. For those wondering, this is not a re-air of last night's telecast. This is actually a fresh one. So, for those who didn't catch us last night, yeah, this is a
We all
live
changed our shirts overnight.
New
No,
shirts.
no,
Yeah,
we
I
didn't.
made
I
sure.
didn't.
I
No,
did.
well,
I definitely
yeah.
made sure I changed my shirt. But,
I stink at
Hopefully-
home.
I stink at home.
Now everyone knows why we still do this show remote, even though the pandemic's over.
There we go.
Is it? Is it?
That's a really good
Is
question.
it really?
But,
Oh, no.
yeah, guys, we are going to do now our deep dive of Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2. You know, our deep dive. So it'll be really fun. Before we jump into that, because we have a lot to talk about tonight, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us.
Nerdcyclopedia.com, people, your favorite website where you get all your favorite fan fiction and everything that you know about nerd culture and Star Wars stuff. Check us out on our different different social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on TikTok at Nerdcyclopedia on the .com site. If you're watching or listening to us on podcasts, we are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we're there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Hit that subscribe button and that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure you join in our Carbonac Bounties a Star Wars group where you will meet Thomas Hastings, who does not love Andor.
Oh, man. Ooh.
Our steak. Tom.
Where's the eject button?
We love you, buddy. I want to put you on blast there, but you got to change that take. Watch the rest of the episodes. You'll change your tune, man.
And then watch Rogue One right after Andor, and you'll get it. You'll get it.
And then leave us some feedback. So we love your feedback at nerds and nerdcyclopedia.com. Getting your feedback and feeding right back to you. All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. For those who didn't watch us last night, we kind of did our shock review. But yeah, for us, I mean, some of us probably watched it 4 or 5 times. I've only watched it 3 times. But
Kid, what did you do this last 24 hours?
I watched Ahsoka episode 1 and 2. I abandoned all hope in my family, and I studied this, and yeah, that's what I did.
All right, picked it apart.
And if you and why didn't you? What else are you doing?
I did pick it apart, to be honest. There are a couple of notes I did write down about it. A couple like iffy things. There were a couple iffy scenes I've seen it, and I was like, I can tell they're cutting budget a little bit. They're cutting some corners. It was overall great, but you can tell the budget was tight.
You think you think budget was tight? A New Hope.
Oh, you can tell.
Budget was tight. Budget was tight in A New Hope. Budget ain't tight.
Speak on
it.
Budget ain't tight in this.
Speak to Nicholas J.
tight.
Picky over here. Nicholas J. Picky, speak on him.
We got to speak on them because you guys let these people get away with stuff, so they keep cutting them out. You know why this is why the MCU did this, because you got guys like DP saying everything's a 10 out of 10. This is what happens.
Here we go.
So let's.
So now it's not just that the MCU is not great. It's DP's fault.
Blame it on the DNP.
Oh, come on. When they ended the second episode with Sabine getting back into character, I mean, that was a win for me. That brought the whole thing together. That was huge.
See, okay. I understand Nicholas J and his wanted to be just that perfect and everything. But I watched the first episode again. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole second episode and everything, but the first episode was even better than I remember, watching it. The pacing was excellent. The cinematography to me, represented what to a point where it was almost like he was just channeling his George Lucas, just channeling
the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was great. It was good. So good between good and great and everything. as far as satisfying me from like the opening shots, the scroll, the crawl and everything, and just making you feel like you're back immersed in this universe of Star Wars that we all know and love. Everything can be Andor, but Andor is its own entity, and it's still Star Wars. So you can have two of the same thing.
You can have two of the same thing for sure.
I thought it was good. Not gonna hate.
The way, and you know what? So some questions. So for the second episode, we got a little bit of this, like the witches. Nobody likes the witches. Okay, so why? Why are these sort of turned Jedi so against the witches? Why are witches always beaten down through history, even our history? Nobody likes witches.
Salem witch trial, they hung them and burned them at the stake.
But we're afraid of them enough to give them full reign. And I feel like I've watched the second episode a couple times because I think that's the important one. The first episode was the one to get us back into the story and introduce ourselves to where the timeline and where we're at now. The second episode kind of built the story. Now we know where we're going. Like Ahsoka thinks we're looking to find Ezra. The witches think we're trying to find Thrawn. So there's sort of this they're going to cross in the middle and we're going to get this big like aha moment, like probably episode 6 or 7 is going to be the real hinge. But we've got these 2 dark Jedi. Is that what they are, T. Mitch?
And
Shin are dark Jedi.
I don't know. There's no official name for what they are, but they're not Jedi and they're not Sith. So
they're not. They're in the middle, and I don't think they're fully sold on what Morgan is doing. I feel like they have.
I don't think. Well, based on that you're saying, I don't think they know what she's doing because
that's true. Yeah, I don't think they know the big picture yet.
Because Balin seems like he's trying to get Thrawn to, I don't know, find some kind of power in the unknown regions to overtake things, and
he
seems like he wants it for himself, and that's why his apprentice kind of was like, kind of giving him the side eye, like what?
Yeah. I did. You picked up on that, right?
Yeah,
she was like,
it was kind of like, are we gonna have another like Inquisitor moment? To where like we have like the turn and he turns on his apprentice or something, but that was definitely unique.
Wait, say what you just said again. What you just said about the are you talking about Shin?
Yeah, Shin. You didn't see the way she was looking at him when he was like talking about like basically becoming evil, because I don't know if she believes that they are Sith, but he seems like he's turning more towards the dark side.
Yeah.
Was this I think towards the end of the second episode?
It was.
That's what I was referring to yesterday. She had this look in her eye, like that.
Like we're on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of like giving her a little bit more dimension than just the one note she was playing like the first 2 episodes.
Right. And both times when Balin sent her on a mission, she was sort of like, "Okay, I'm doing it now because you're my master." Right. I'm going to do what you say, but I don't buy. She's not completely bought into the whole thing.
No.
She's a little bit on the fence. And I'd like to bring up something we talked about last night about Sabine getting wounded. I mean, honestly, look where that lightsaber went through.
Wounded? She was impaled. That ain't a wound.
She got impaled, but there was nothing there. That was all flesh. There weren't any organs there. No skeletal structure. It wasn't a mortal wound.
So
I think Shin did that on purpose.
How hard?
What I was about to say is ask if this was actually a human.
Yeah.
Element. Yeah.
She does not line up.
Yeah. She could have finished her off for sure. So that might foreshadow something.
Yeah, but she didn't.
I feel like that would be really hard. If you're stabbing someone with a lightsaber, right? And a lightsaber can cut through anything, and you're stabbing them, and nobody, like when you stab somebody, they never stay still. Like they at least like fall over. So you would think that lightsaber would kind of, pull out the side there rather than just go straight in.
I thought there'd be a little more damage.
So that's probably a kill shot there. I mean,
where it went through there, even if you get shot in certain places, like with a gun, in certain places in your body, and it's a through and through, you can survive. Like you might think that it's a mortal wound, but it wasn't. And I looked at where Shin placed the blade, ran it through, pulled it out, and it was really nothing there.
It was a clean shot.
It was a clean shot, went through and through, and she totally could survive. Plus, she's Mandalorian.
Yeah. I don't know the Mandalorian. I don't know if the Mandalorian comes in a really like different skin, like she's like have adamantium or something in her. I don't think that's really it.
Yeah, she got a healing factor.
She's
what should I do?
She's humanoid in the aspect that, if you would cut her open, you'd find all the same stuff that we got.
Except on the left side, the heart is on the other side. Okay.
Is it? David Tennant is the voice of Hanog, and he has a heart on both sides. He has two hearts. So there's all kind of weird going on in the show.
Hey, you never know with these Star Wars. Yeah. Ken, I'm not in disagreement.
Ken, I will say, based on damage though, I have to nitpick the opening scene when they're in the they're picking up Morgan and Baylan starts mowing people down. I mean, I like him as a character. Man, some of the hits he hit, like literally, he tapped this guy on the shoulder with a blade, and like I was just like, this is like, I don't know if they were trying to be funny or cheesy, but man, I was like, some of these strikes, he literally hit one guy on the thigh and he died,
and he went down.
Like, oh wow!
These are the new stormtroopers. The blue shirts are the new stormtroopers.
I saw
they just go down left and right.
That could have been choreographed a little better.
that beginning fight scene could have been a little less Disney, because it was straight up. It was clean. For what it was definitely could have been a lot more elite. I mean, in fact, a lot of the lightsaber stuff could have been just more crazier and everything. But because we're Disney, this is what we get.
Yeah. I think that they and maybe it's something they're leading up to, but I did think some of the like strikes and whatnot, I was kind of like, that looks a little bit like too safe, like like a little more aggression, especially like it's like trying to like, it was like a ode to the Vader scene, right? We've seen that a couple times, and Luke Skywalker did it. So I'm like, these hallway fights are iconic. Like these are iconic scenes.
Disney was involved in Rogue One, and the end of Rogue One, we all have to admit, is the apex of Vader and what we all wanted to see Vader do. And basically, the saber strikes were the same. Baylan did the same saber strikes that Vader did. They're very similar. There was a choke, a force push up to the ceiling, and then cut him across the middle, and his entrails come out. I mean, it was all very similar.
Then we watched Anakin breaks people's necks for no reason, so it's not like they don't have
especially younglings,
fatalities in them. They have that Mortal Kombat element in them as well. This guy's breaking necks, and the Obi-Wan got pretty graphic for something that was a normal series. So maybe, I don't know. It was just, to me, I just thought that was a little cheesy off the bat, but overall it was great. When I watched it again, I seen it and I was like, man, like he's barely hitting these people, but okay.
But look, we talked during the Mandalorian about how the Moff, he doesn't have the Darth Vader-ness, right? He has all the trappings of Vader, and he surrounds himself with all these Vader-esque like stylistic choices, but he can't inhabit Vader. He doesn't have that gravitas, and he's not terrifying. Baylan Skoll does all that stuff. He does all. He has the aura. He has the very aggressive, very powerful lightsaber hitting that you expect from a Darth Vader, right? I think you're right, Ken. It definitely echoed to me that you're trapped in here with me scene where he comes on, where Vader comes on the rebel ship, and I think that was certainly intentional. Really, really, just Baylan Skoll really rules. And the fact that it's Ray Stevenson playing him, really, I think makes this character run. And and it's so sad that Ray passed away before anybody saw this, because I think he'd be getting so much credit for this performance. And he's he has a history of portraying these tough, monolithic, characters that do have depth. I think Titus Polo is one of the best. Is a really, really good character. If you've never seen HBO's Rome, you gotta check that out. I know I'm a history nerd, so I'll probably it really hit a sweet spot for me. But you got to check that out. And he played Punisher, and I think,
of course, there we go.
Punisher and the most violent one, the most violent Punisher by a lot. So
Punisher Warzone, yeah.
So to me, there's this element of menace and danger that guy brings to the role that I think comes through for sure in everything he does. Like as soon as he walked out of that shuttle, you knew that all those that supercilious officer was screwed.
Oh yeah,
they were done. They were completely done, especially since they pushed back. We didn't know why. We didn't know why they pushed back in the beginning. Then we thought, oh, they're harboring this prisoner, and this was a rescue mission. So just like Han and Luke getting on the Death Star to rescue Princess Leia, they're going to pull all the stops, and it was the same sort of kind of rescue mission type of thing, heading to the detention level. It was all, and that's why I was really hooked from the beginning, because it brought back all these childhood memories of what Star Wars was. You didn't know what was going on until it kind of started moving, and then you started to see, and you really don't know what side you should be rooting for.
That's a good point, and I think that's something that,
or do we like Syndulla, and do we that gang?
I think you have something on this that I think the villains are kind of likable here in a few ways, right? And they're really portraying the New Republic out to be a bunch of stupid boobs.
Yeah.
Are they villains though? That's the whole thing we're worried. This is the old interesting dichotomy of the show, though. There's literally 3 different factions, 3 different motives, right? We have the Ghost Crew that's looking for Ezra. We have Shin and Baylan, who were trying to get to the unknown regions to get maybe power, or they seek some kind of power. And then we have really Morgan with the witch. She's the last Night Sister, so she's really trying to reunite with Thrawn to, I guess, be his number 2 in command to the new Empire. So we have 3 different paths kind of leading towards the same person, which is Thrawn ultimately. So, and obviously, we have Chekhov's Ezra, which will be.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not even gonna guess, but I don't know if there's going to be another season for this. But are we going to see him before the end, fully, or is that going to be something teased later on? I don't know.
Well, they already put it out there, so if he's going to come back at all, it's definitely going to be in.
Can you bring him back though? You think in 8 episodes? Can you bring him back? I don't know. This is my Nicholas J. My nitpick with when you bring on Ezra. Hey, wait, time out. Is it because we're bold? Is it like the?
Is it?
Is that what it is? Because I'm on you now.
Yeah. We gotta call it out. We gotta call it out.
Oh, gang, it's all right.
But when you bring on Ezra, it's kind of hard because this is live action. First time we're seeing, Ahsoka in live action, but you still have to wrap up storylines from, prior, from the animated stuff, where those hardcore that was into the animated stuff, you don't want to see this stuff resolved. You can't even mention or not mention Ezra without having to go through, what happened to him and everything, So at some point they're going to have to explain this character, why he's so important. Why was he mentioned as as like you said, Chekhov's Ezra and everything, and why he has his gravitas and coming back maybe like episode 7 or 8 or whatever. Ezra, this big thing.
Yeah, but that's an episode in itself. They've done that with Boba. It seems like, and I hope they don't do with this. They waste an episode basically creating another storyline, right? So we're we're going to need 20 minutes, as you said, to understand what's happened this whole time, what happened between you and Thrawn, because there have been irkings that
20
they were
minutes? 20 minutes?
minimum,
Yeah,
minimum.
minimum. We're going to need a whole episode about that.
But
Seriously.
but as you say that, do we do that on this show?
If you follow Disney Plus's instructions, they tell you how to get this information. It's a no-brainer. Just watch the screen and do what they say.
Here's the big.
So watch Rogue One.
Here's the big solve about that. Yeah, exactly. Here's the big solve about that.
And Rebels, but only certain episodes.
Take the chance. Ride the series out. Don't do the Mandalorian thing like with Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
Have a special presentation, Ezra. A special presentation, just Ezra and his time with Thrawn, not even having anything to do with Ahsoka. Let this season ride out the 7 episodes or whatever. Take a couple months off. Come back with a special presentation, Star Wars Ezra, and here we just get like it's not going to happen, but here we get like the where is Ezra been and what's happened with Thrawn and everything, all that. Because I don't think that based on, like I said, the them having to mention it as a checkoffs, I don't think it's really going to satisfy us once we see him. Once we eventually see him.
That's going to be the end of episode 8. What I think the final episode, they'll like either see him or hear of him. It'll be like kind of like as it fades to dark, or maybe they might even hit us with a bonus. But I don't think we're going to really see him. There's just too much to put in the show. Keep in mind, episode 3 is only like 30 minutes, which isn't going to make people too happy. But yeah, that's one of those things with these.
With the pistol there, T. Mitch. Yeah. You're gonna have to fire it, man.
But these 8 episodes, I don't know what the whole. I'd love to sit down and talk to these guys and just wonder, just pick their brains as far as the idea. 8 episodes, like 10. 10's a sweet spot.
That's 4 hours of space. That's a lot of space.
That's a lot.
If you told me, hey, I don't think they can get there in one movie, I would say they could definitely get there in one movie. So I think that's enough space.
Keep in mind, though, we just got spoiled with an hour each of Andor's for some people who didn't like it. I mean, I get it, right? I mean, I got 8 hours. I basically got a whole trilogy. I got a prequel trilogy and the original.
Oh, yeah. They packed a lot in that series. Right. You're right. Yeah.
If you were watching Andor and thinking there just isn't enough jujitsu in Andor, I get it, because there wasn't a lot of it.
I was just thinking, when I started watching Andor, I was looking for jiu-jitsu. I was looking for, to get that in my life, but I didn't get it. But it didn't matter because Andor was great.
Yeah. I would say that we, going back to Ahsoka with some of these lightsaber scenes and everything, I think they were good, but I think we are seeing like the emphasis of like Dave Filoni's direction. He's not a master director, and he's a great writer.
Let's talk about Ahsoka's fighting style. Who has a similar fighting style and sort of technique of using the lightsaber in different ways? Who do we know that
2 of them?
Well, maybe not 2, but Anakin used the lightsaber a lot different than Obi-Wan did. He branched out. He did things that we didn't see with a lightsaber, through his timeline. And I think Ahsoka picked up on a lot of that. She's sneaky and crafty and knows how to, like Obi-Wan would say to Anakin, "Oh, there you are." Like he would just pop out of nowhere. He did sleight of hand with a lightsaber. And just with his fighting style, it was very sneaky. And I think Ahsoka embodies that in a lot of ways. I don't know. That's what I got from watching her scene.
Yeah, she definitely has a style.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it was. I liked it. I mean, I know we asked about it, and they did get a little more adventurous as far as some of the angles they shot the fights in, which I can appreciate. So they did switch up the angles. I noticed a little bit. They got a little more 3-dimensional with some of the fights and whatnot. The Inquisitor guy is pretty cool. I just it's one of those things. I wish he was more in the background. I think personally in the first two, and we talk about it. I just think they put too much. It felt a little rushed to me. Like they didn't need to have him fight her already. I was excited to see it, but the way she kind of overpowered him, and then now we catch him later on to where he has his saber spinning and like it's one of those things like, you play a video because it to me this is shot exactly like a video game. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
way we're playing it, it literally if you were to play a Star Wars video game, the way this is played out, it plays. You got your major boss who's kind of weak off the bat, and then somehow he gets this magical power and he's like all powering at the end. But yeah, she basically dispatched of him fairly comfortably. And then for some reason he just recalls his lightsaber without trying to hit her or nothing, which I was just like, okay.
And she just
did you
moved
catch
away.
that? Yeah, I was kind of like, oh,
she was like,
all right.
She got spider senses,
Yeah, so you wonder, like maybe these bad guys aren't really that bad. Maybe they're they're thinking about a whole different thing than what like Morgan is thinking.
Right. Maybe this isn't. Maybe they're not bad. I mean, and you DP alluded to this. Balin's not even trying to kill her.
Right.
Because Morgan questions, like, are you, like, do you have feelings for this? He doesn't even know her, right? But he doesn't want to kill off the Jedi, which is kind of weird, right? So I did catch that at the end of the episode that he doesn't want to kill her.
Yeah, I mean, he still
maybe he wants his apprentice to, but I don't think he physically wants to kill her is the thing.
He wants Shin to do it, but
yeah, I don't think he does. No.
How what is the time length between when we last seen from Rebels to this show?
It's almost picks up kind of where it left off, remember, because they did the whole scene where she comes talking to her about like we got to go find Ezra. That was the final scene in Rebels, and then they tied that in episode 2, so it kind of like paralleled, which is weird.
So I'm kind of like so when they did that scene, sort of like scene for scene a little bit,
right?
I'm getting the impression everything we seen before that was a lead up to that. It was feeling like time and space and everything. But how long? So Hera's child is how old at this point?
He's
at least 10.
Yeah,
because we're
7 to 10 years old.
How far in front of Yavin was the end of Rebels? Well, Kanan's death is probably like the actual thing we need to. Is that question here?
I mean, this is around
5 years before Yavin.
This is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so you figure Yavin plus 4 years.
9 ABY
plus 5,
9 ABY.
So it's 9 years after that, and if you figure Rebels was, call it 3 years before Yavin, so 3 plus 9 is 12, so 12, 13-ish.
12, 13 years? Oh wow, okay. So I'm thinking that her child has to be like 7 to 10 years old, so we're thinking like about 12, 13 years old at that point.
I mean, I'm just estimating based on, but I could be wrong about how many years in front of Yavin they are, I guess.
I'm just going based off his age. Like, how are we feeling about I guess Rosario's portrayal of Ahsoka with how we remember her and her sparkiness and everything, how she's sort of like, calmed down, sort of like when she went from
she's matured.
She's matured a whole lot.
Yeah.
But to me, it seems like I feel like I should be seeing a little bit more
aggression and brashness.
Yeah, I can understand the growth and everything. I can accept that, but it seems like we would be seeing a little bit more of the aggressiveness, like you said, and the more brashness in anything.
Yeah,
a little bit of that.
Maybe she was getting trained by somebody else.
Huh?
Well, based on when we originally seen her in that scene, right, when she kind of snuck into the temple and all that, like that seemed more like Anakin, like it was almost a war, right? When we were introduced to her, this seems like you're saying a lot more. I don't know if they're trying to focus on her as an actress for like awards, but yeah, she seems a lot more tame. The dialogue.
She was getting guidance from somebody.
Yeah,
it does. It looks a little more like she seems professional type. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's not as aggressive as I would expect like a rogue Jedi to be. I mean, she's
Right.
literally like one of like who knows how many are left. And yeah, you're right. She's a little nonchalant with everything. I don't know if that was by design or I don't know. It just so we. I mean, I know we have a ways to go, but she definitely is not as I mean aggressive as I would expect. Especially like when they in that scene, they're like, there's an assault droid, right? It was just kind of like tame, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe more portrayal in like I said, the cartoons, the Clone Wars, and everything that we set up this character, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's
I mean, we're still having like a lot of the. I mean, we got Ahsoka in our brain, not necessarily the
right.
actors or actresses that are playing, but we got
Mhm.
like we already got her character, how we think it should be, and it's just sort of like a different way that Rosario was playing her, which is sort of like I think it's something to get used to, but
Yeah,
it did sort of like stand out to me. She's deliberate in her. She's more adult. Slow
yeah.
and deliberate in her her speech and everything, and I would expect a little bit more banter with, between her and Hera that's sort of like more back and forth, not so much quippy, but a little bit more faster. Um,
Like there was a
know,
relationship, like they had already had a history together, which
Yeah.
I didn't get that. Like if I knew they did, I
mhm.
knew they spent a lot of time on that ship. They were together on that ship for a lot, and they had a lot of stories and a lot of a lot of things that they did, and you didn't really get that relationship. It wasn't as like we would think it would have been. I don't,
Yeah,
Wow.
and they also have to address her and her relationship, or Ahsoka and her relationship with Sabine, and the whole training thing, you know,
No,
um
what?
the whole apprenticeship and everything, um
A Jedi without the Force? Come on, man.
That's weird.
You got to
And it's weird
listen.
for them to call that out. Like
These came
she's not
out.
some
You're going to
like she's
have to
not.
sell me. You're going to have to sell me 100% Filoni on this because I 100% don't agree with that. I'm not on board with that. I'm sorry.
So you are at your base. You are a Voldemortian because you believe that you have to have the pure Jedi blood in order to
Not
access the
that,
Force.
but I figured that. Well, I just need to know his explanation because I was told before the show came on that there's going to be a definitive explanation of what the Force is, whether it be from the Wills, like a divine thing, if it's a midichlorian thing. I just want to know because if you're going to say like, if so, then listen, because this is the easiest thing, right? If she doesn't have the Force, all Shin had to do is Force pick her up and just impale her, right? Come on. So that's what I'm saying. If she's mortal with no force abilities, you're going to have to sell me on her as a character. I get she's a
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. No, man. No, I'm not doing that.
We already know that Mandalorian are a tough breed,
So you're
They
and
saying
can wield
they
a
would
lightsaber.
survive a lot.
Luke Skywalker couldn't kill Din? Come on now. Stop.
Nope,
Let's not go there. Oh my
nope,
gosh. All right.
nope.
All right.
I think
We know
maybe I'm wrong.
Jedi beat these
Why would
bounty
Luke?
hunters. We
Why
saw it
would
in
Luke want
episode
to
2.
kill Din? Din?
I'm
Why
just
would he?
saying.
Why would that
I'm
even
talking about
happen?
as I'm talking about as far as like a human immortal. We've had this discussion on other shows. I've watched a mortal kill a god that's like 8,000 years old in the movie. Won't say the movie. Um, it was a mutant and a god, and a mortal without training basically killed him. VP, you know where that is, so we'll just leave it at that, right? So I get it, but to me, Hitch was honest. I need explanation of how somebody and she can't even really wield a saber. Like I was sitting there, like she's really raw with no abilities, but maybe she develops them.
So we know you can learn how to use a lightsaber as a regular old
Right. You can learn
Sword.
non-force using
proficiency.
human.
Right.
Just like a sword.
Yep.
And we know that she's like less talented than any other Jedi ever, like in the last 500 years. So she's worse than them. But at the same time, I feel like you have to have some sort of natural capacity for the Force. It's like if you tried to explain sight to somebody that's never seen, right? Like it's hearing. It's just like hearing except for light. Like that's weird. You know what I mean? Like it's just the idea of that's kind of crazy. So to me, I think there's a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, we address this on many other podcasts. So, Michael Jordan has a force. Mary Lou Moon has a force. LeBron has a force and everything. It's people that could play, ball and, have different levels of skill that aren't quite like the level of superstar level and everything. But they still have that sense of, they got that talent or whatever. I think to sort of define, I guess, the force as one pure thing is probably missing the point unless, the creators just come out and say that's what it is. If you allow more nuance and stuff, then maybe you can, I just need for them to, and it's going to be a lot to, try to do in 8 episodes to explain why Ahsoka chose to mentor, Sabine, why that even happened, because I don't remember anything.
Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she? She has drive. She's smart.
Well,
she's an artist.
I can answer that really quickly. There's other Jedi, though. There are other younglings that have the Force that I felt that she could have reached. Look at Grogu. Case in point. There are other people with the Force that can be harnessed, because as we find out here shortly, the Empire is already taking Force sensitives and creating them into the new Legion of Stormtroopers, a la Finn. So why wouldn't you try to harness and find these young kids or people and try to not necessarily, and we know at this point that Luke Skywalker's alive, trying to create a Jedi Academy. So all this stuff is there. Like you're saying, I need to know why she would choose her,
right?
Out of just having Ezra's lightsaber because he handed it to her.
Right.
Like, come on now.
Oh, I'm not saying that that's not right. They just need to explain
Yeah,
why.
It's
not
it
to
can
say
happen.
that it's good or bad, but
No,
just
it can happen.
explain why
I need to
this
know
wrinkle has come upon, like, the whole story between, I mean, because those two have a relationship,
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, she's teaching, she's all of a sudden her apprentice and everything, why?
Well, the funny part is everybody was in an uproar on episode 7 when Finn had a lightsaber and he didn't have the Force, and everybody's in an uproar because nobody other than the Jedi should be wielding it. So they corrected him in episode 9 and said he was Force sensitive. So it's interesting to see what they'll do with Sabine, and maybe she's this whole like the new Bo-Katan Kryze and a dark saber to some extent again. Like maybe we might go down that route, but yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be nothing like sinister or crazy, but I just, like you said, I just want to know why. It's not bad. I'd like to know why.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a plan and everything. I'm getting this feeling that where he had like 22 to 15 to 22 episodes to explain in the animated stuff. He doesn't have that many episodes in live action to get the point across. So hopefully it's done well. Whatever explanation, but they're putting a lot of balls in the air with this. Thrawn, Ezra, Balin, and
we got a star map now that isn't a world between worlds that we thought. I mean,
it's a different galaxy. Can we address that? Like this extra galactic,
exile.
This extra galactic thing is so weird.
Didn't we just get this in the map to Luke Skywalker?
Yeah, we did get this in the map to Luke Skywalker, and when you think about extra galactic threats, I think of the Yuzun Vong. And that sort of weird stuff, but not the Chiss Ascendancy, not Thrawn, and not how do they even leave the galaxy? Like, can they do it in hyperspace? I've never even considered.
Look at the thing that they're building. Look at the thing that the witches are building. It has 6 hyperdrives.
That's Thrawn's capital ship, though. You know that for the books. Thrawn always has it's decked in gold. That's going to be Thrawn's like capital like cruiser.
And that could take you anywhere. I mean, you could go to another universe in that thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that because the Chiss Ascendancy where Thrawn's from is somewhere in the unknown regions, but it's not extra galactic. So why? And we know the space whales took them. So I guess we'll be seeing space whales really soon.
Oh yeah. Well, they put that check off in the Mandalorian season 3 there. So they got to pay that guns off somehow.
There's plenty of those sitting out there. So I guess, we can look forward to, I think we're going to get at least one almost pure Rebels episode.
There will be one,
this season.
Yeah.
Like episode 7 or 8 will be like, oh, we got to get Ezra out of there. And then Ezra will
Well, yeah. Well, we have the Ghost crew coming back together, so I mean, and it's crazy. We're thinking that far ahead. I mean, the thing that makes me wonder everything now is like at the end of episode 9, the Ghost ship is in that final battle. So who is alive that's piloting the Ghost? Because the Ghost 100% is in that space battle. So the time
Who's
frame between
piloting?
now, yeah, the time frame between now to the end of episode 9, which isn't that far, somebody's in that crew has the Ghost. Is it Zeb still? Is it? I mean, that would be cool. But yeah, I noticed that and saw that they were back. So I was like, wonder, could it be Hera's son? Another Jedi? Who knows?
Hmm. I think it's Zeb.
Yeah, Kanan's son could be a Jedi, huh?
At that point, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I think that as long as you are in close proximity to the plot, you can be a Jedi in the Star Wars universe. But you gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta know where that is, or else you'll be in trouble.
Filoni's a big guy too of the whales, as we notice in the temple scene, right? So there is a way through the Force that the whales can empower Sabine. If he wants to go on that route, I mean, I can understand that because if they go the route with the whales, then she can obtain the Force um, through external methods. So I'm interested to see that as well because I did notice he's big on lure and the wills and tradition, in the EU. So,
But why are we saying that the Force is like a special thing? It's something that everyone has the ability to sense. It's
it's
in
but
all of us.
it's
It just
special though because now we introduce something new to Star Wars, which is magic, right?
well,
And you talked about that because that's the reason the Jedi are scared, right? They can't. It's like one A and one B. It's Sinestro and Green Lantern, right? They're gonna counteract each other.
like a
A Je-
magnet, two
yeah,
magnets.
a Jedi is not going to necessarily be able to kill a Night Sister, right? Because it's like any video game. The Night Sister is
Right.
going to be ranged, so they're not even going to allow the Jedi to do hand-to-hand combat. They're not going to get close enough. So it's going to be one of those things. I'm interested to see that. I mean, she's the last, and they're laying it out that she's the last Night Sister alive. Like this is, you know, beyond everybody else. So um, that was really interesting. That the Night Sisters had their genocide, kind of like the Maul's race. Everybody from that planet of Dathomir seems like it's been it. So I'd like for them to dive into that, but obviously it's only 8 episodes. But it's the brothers of Dathomir, and then you have the sisters. Like what happened is she's the last survivor.
Hmm.
That's interesting to me. I don't know. It's really interesting that they've thrown that plot line, and she said that I'm just a survivor. Like, well, what happened on
Yeah.
Dathomir?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that goes back to what I said initially. Like witches have always been, you know, feared, and let's get rid of them. So if she didn't succumb to that, like she wasn't executed, then she was a survivor. Like I think that like the Salem witch trials, like I don't know why, but people are always afraid of witches and that sort of. I guess that's mostly a female, character, but there were male witches too. But we really are scared of the female ones. We really think that there's something up with them, and we go so far as to create like, well, we're gonna get rid of them, and we're gonna say if they sink to the bottom of the river, then they're not a witch because they drowned because they weren't able to save themselves. So there's a certain power to just accept, saying that someone is a witch that we're afraid of, which makes her very powerful. And I think Morgan is a character that's going to be big in this series. I think this is going to be our protagonist. This is going to be the one. Now, when Thrawn comes in, of course, it moves over to him, but I think the power level goes to Morgan right now. I think that character is the one that we need to kind of look at. Because right now she's calling all the shots. She's making everybody make decisions in their own lives. Because
She's
Ahsoka
on.
and Sabine now are back together. And where are they going? they're chasing Morgan.
I think Morgan. Well, I think Morgan's more like Obi-Wan. It's like, when he turned himself off of the Force, I
Yeah.
think she's kind of turned her Night Sister powers off to kind of go under the radar.
Yeah.
And now her abilities are starting to come back. She's
She
starting to
got the
get
map.
stronger. Yep, she's getting stronger and stronger. So, um, yeah, I think you are right. Her power is growing. And I
That'd be
think that,
interesting.
yeah.
It was almost like a Palpatine moment when she turned around and faced out at the end of the episode, faced out at space, and she was in control of this entire thing. And honestly, just as a super fan, I don't know what all this is. This is all new, but this looks to me like Empire Strikes Back. This has got that feel to it, like the Emperor's in charge of everything. Morgan's in charge of this whole thing. She knows what's going on. She knows where she's going. She's not clouded. Balin is sort of like clouded. He doesn't really see the full picture. She does.
Yeah.
She knows exactly what's happening.
Yeah, her morals are way more clear than Balin, who seems like he's on the fence. I like that they got Clancy Brown back up as like writer.
Yeah.
Yes. I was so happy to see Clancy Brown. Like the Kurgan. I mean, every time I see him, I'm just so excited.
And how about Kevin Kiner as the soundtrack?
Oh yep.
This guy, he started to play. He composed certain notes that almost sounded like the Imperial March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then he turned because he had to do his own thing. He couldn't John Williams it. But the music kind of told the story too, along through the whole thing.
Well, Filoni kept his guy, so and he did a really great job, as far as the score. The score was great, throughout like the episodes and stuff. What else?
Did anybody catch the Ahsoka's new ability that she was developing as she was going through Sabine's home? Like
spider
some kind of force to telepathy, like as she was filling the ground. I was kind of like, that's new. Like,
was that memories? Like she was pulling memories from like material, like the walls.
Yeah, right. I've known they did that with holocrons and whatnot, but I've never known a Jedi to be able to like extract like fight data from the air. I don't know.
And let's give props to the Lothcat, because the Lothcat now is a character. Now that's going to be, and maybe the Lothcat is giving Ahsoka and Sabine some intelligence, because
because the Loth Wolf, if they ever introduced that, did have like similar abilities, right? Okay, I see where you're going, Ken. Yeah, okay.
Because they see all. Think about your pet, your dog, your cat, your hamster, whatever. They see everything. Mm-hmm. We only see one thing, but think about it like your dog is looking at the bigger picture. So that, maybe Ahsoka was pulling from the animal a little bit.
That'd be a good reveal if that's where they go. That instead of just having it, that's really great writing if they do that. Instead of just having it as like your cute little pet and everything, it actually means something. I like shows where everything means something.
Yeah.
It's not just for dress up and looks and everything.
Like everything around Sabine's apartment, there was a stack of speeder bike trooper helmets and stormtrooper helmets in the corner. Yeah. There was etchings of Lothcats all over the wall. I mean, there was like all this cool stuff, very similar to the Lars homestead. If you pause scenes through there, you can see there's stuff. There's all kind of neat little, I don't know what to call it, Easter eggs, whatever.
Yeah.
But even in her apartment, it was chock full of stuff.
Yeah, definitely got to pause. We had that one scene where Sabine was, riding on that same stretch of highway or whatever. Same thing we seen in
79
Rebels.
North.
Yeah, right. we seen that similar thing in Rebels with Ezra. Riding that speeder bike across there. Um, so I thought that was pretty decent.
And how about that scene where she's getting chased by the cops?
Mm-hmm.
What about that music?
Oh yeah. All of a sudden, just take a turn for the more of a rock hard,
I cranked that up. I cranked that up in my home theater. I was like, "Well, this is great. This is." Let me rewind this and watch this again. It was a whole great sequence where she's just like, giving the middle finger to authority.
Mm-hmm.
She don't care, and they let her go. The one guy, the cop was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever," and he winked to her, and she winked back, and he took off. Like, we never knew who you were.
What are you gonna do? You can't do anything to her. I mean, it's like Audie Murphy. You can't.
Again, she's sort of she is force sensitive. What normal human could do what she did?
But if you're not really force sensitive, they wouldn't train you, because there'd be no point in trying to teach you how to do stuff.
Right.
You could never learn how to do it. It'd be like taking me to a class for how to do fancy basketball dunks. Like I could learn the words, but right. I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to be able to do a 360 tomahawk jam. I'm sorry, guys.
Your strength.
Ken, I'm sorry.
Your strength is learning. Let's say your strength is learning and memorizing numbers and history. That's your force power.
First of all, my basketball strength is boxing out. That's my best. But that's it. That's the one thing I was like average at.
And I really wanted to be a basketball player.
You hit on the key. So Jedi wouldn't necessarily train someone if they didn't have the capabilities of force. So why? So I guess we're answering our own question. Why would Ahsoka start to train Sabine if she didn't notice something in her, to even go that route? Because she wouldn't just train her. And like T. Mitch was saying, she could have trained Grogu. She could have trained like another. Why not? Why Sabine? What is going to be revealed in these next few episodes to let us know why Sabine is that special?
Yeah, she saw something. I mean, the Force isn't just choking people from a distance and throwing them at the wall and crushing their organs. That's not Force just power. I mean, the Force is having the ability to communicate and sense around sense things around you. It's like a second sense, like a sixth sense. Like, I see dead people. That would be the Force. Is it useful? I don't know. Is it useful that you can do, look at numbers and count, look at a pile of matchsticks on the floor and count them and have the exact number. Is that the Force? Sure.
I think that it's portrayed as intuition, and I think they show Sabine ducking under that like X-wing jumper, that whatever that model is.
Is that's intuition, right?
That's the Force a little bit. It seems like it a little bit. Maybe are they going to be trying to say she has the capacity for it, but she just never really studied and it was never developed? And it's like, again, my 360 tomahawk jam classes that were fun, but I mean, I couldn't do a 360 tomahawk jam. Save my life. You'd have to lower the room significantly.
Well, I mean,
I just did some reading in the back end of it. So it is going to be, there is going to be no dramatic tie-in as far as Sabine having the Force. Essentially, what it is she would have been classified as one of the younglings who never would ascend to Jedi Knight. So she might have been trained at the academy, but she never would have became a Jedi Knight. Her level, as we said, she has a level of the Force that's so low, and Wang Sao said this to her. Your level's low, right? Doesn't mean you can't be a Force wielder. You can't be. It's not saying you couldn't be a Jedi, but she would never be a Jedi Knight, is what it would be. And I think they go on to explain that in a lot of the excerpts of the episode. That's yeah. I mean, he said it. He's had many Padawans over the century, and her amplitude of the Force would fall well beyond that. Keep in mind that there aren't many that left to train. So yeah, That's really what it is. I mean, if we're talking of the sports analogy, she'd be playing in like the NBA G League, not the NBA, right? So
Yeah.
you can still play
But
basketball, but you're not playing in the majors.
she could still score a 3-pointer. You
Of
know,
course,
that
Maybe 1 out of 10 times instead of
right.
instead of 9 out of 10 times.
how about 4 out of 10?
Four
How
out of
about
10.
4 out of 10? She
We'll
tries
give
it.
her 4 shots here.
I'm just saying the Force doesn't necessarily. I remember the conversation
Steph Curry
between
yet.
Luke and Obi-Wan. The Force is an energy field created by all living things.
Mm-hmm.
All living things. So it's not subjective. It doesn't. You don't have to be a particular power level. You don't have to be a particular. You don't have to have like an upbringing. Your parents don't have to be Palpatines for you to
Palpatines
have the ability to sense the Force. It's just there. Now,
ABC sitcom The Palpatine.
Ken is the eternal optimist.
Palpatines. Like
Ken is the eternal optimist in this. I'm going to
I
say
don't know.
that.
To me, I feel like it's fine for them to say, yeah, exactly what Ken said on this one. And I think it's okay. And we figure, Anakin Skywalker did a lot to change the selection criteria for, Jedi Knights. When you really think about it, you're going to have to cast a pretty wide net to get enough people to actually fill even the FBI section of the Jedi Order out. I mean, goodness, you're going to need a couple thousand, and then you have like 6.
Yeah, you can't raise the bar so high that you can't even get your lieutenant staffed.
Right.
We're not saying that. We're saying that she's a Jedi. She's just not going to be a Jedi Knight. That's like saying an army.
But you have
and an army ranger, right? She's not a
Anakin
ranger.
Skywalker's apprentice training someone who isn't even like close enough to the Force to really make the mustard. I mean,
that's saying.
Well, how does the Force make that okay? Like, allow that to be okay, right? Because that's obviously a misallocation of talent, unless, right, Sabine is something else, something different. So
either that or like Ahsoka just had nothing else better to do but to say, okay, see, I see a little bit of something, might as well.
Who else is she training?
If you saw someone doing the stuff Sabine's doing, you would think there was something weird going on. The ability to solve all those puzzles, all the art stuff, you know what I mean? All the dexterity stuff, riding like driving that crazy a crazy motorcycle, right? Like one of those like Ducatis or whatever, just flying around a city and just doing insane crap, right? You'd be like, wow.
The cop was like, she's
something's
crazy.
going on.
And think about that battle between her and Shin. She held her own.
But we're not saying that we're not saying that she's not a Jedi though. But it's like somebody who's in the army who's not a ranger. Doesn't mean you're not in the army. I'm not saying like she's not going to be a Jedi, but to get to that knight level, that's the difference. And there's a difference between knights, right, and then Jedi. There's a ton of Padawans. So I'm not saying that she's not capable of being a Jedi, but she's just and keep in mind, I'm keeping her to a level of Jedi that were Coruscant Council. So obviously now that she could be a knight, right? There's no council left.
Now,
so maybe the criteria is different.
Isn't the difference between a Jedi and a Jedi Knight? A Jedi Knight can teach. A Jedi can't.
A Jedi Master. There's a Master Knights are the teachers that can get Padawans.
So a Jedi Knight not have a Padawan.
Knights, you just have to pass the test to be a Jedi Knight.
With the trials, Jedi trials, which the council can just kind of sometimes go, "You're done."
Yeah,
you did it.
They can just stop them depending on whatever you want. That's
way to go, buddy.
Yeah, it's like parallel parking and halfway pulling into space and not
Here's your Jedi Master patch. Sew it on your robe.
Ben, what is it, Ken? What do we get the pins? You get your pins for going through your lightsaber training.
Yeah, I got my pin for both lightsabers that I spent like $300 for.
So $349. Yep, $349. I got a power one and I have the light side one.
They went up $50. Those bastards. The mouse doesn't need new pants. Please,
you shut your mouth.
I got an FOP sticker from a telemarketer that called me.
What a good
sticker.
Woo! Hitch loved that one.
Is it really sales if you don't get a commission? The answer is no. No, it is not.
No.
Sorry, everybody that wants to not pay commission. Stinks to be you.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
We've definitely had a fun discussion tonight, man. I'm just excited that we've waited for this show. I mean, they've been teasing for this show for like the last 2 years almost.
At least 2 years.
So to finally get something. I mean, and then as much as we nitpick, I just want to say I am happy they gave us 2 episodes. They didn't have to. I think that was a really, really, really good play for Disney. And their streaming platform. I mean, we talked about it.
And
I don't care what
servers
anybody
didn't
says.
crash.
Yeah, I don't care what anybody says. Literally, everybody watched that episode last night. So
yeah.
I know their numbers, were through the roof. I don't know if they're going to release them, but I guarantee that broke all of Disney Plus's records just alone.
If it was good, they will brag about it. If it wasn't, then they won't.
Right.
As we will delve into next week, episode 3. And it's crazy, it's sad
on
to
Wednesday.
say, but yeah,
it's on Wednesday,
Tuesday,
3 a.m.
Yeah, it comes out Tuesday at 9 again.
Tuesdays at 9 now.
It's Tuesday from now on. Yeah, it's Tuesdays.
Yeah,
it flopped into Tuesdays.
It's called appointment TV. What it used to be before all the streaming stuff came on here.
Back in the day, in 2009.
Wait a minute! It's not going to be on VHS.
When me and DP were covering Watchmen on HBO, and we will watch Watchmen at like exactly 9 and then be on the air by 10:10. That was back in the old days when I was designing all the layouts myself manually and having to flip manually back and forth. So it was
remember that hard work there, buddy.
4 or 5 years ago. It's a long time.
That's for you guys time.
But no, it's I mean, it depends next week, right? It's 9. It's only like 32 minutes, so don't know if we want to do it directly
be on
after.
At like 10. We'll be on at 10. We'll be right after the episode. So we'll be right back here. I don't know if we're definitely going to do like a deep dive, but it's only like a half an hour, so we'll be on right after the episode.
Definitely. So I hope everybody gets to see it. Hopefully you guys watch it a couple more times. Go ahead and do your little deep dives as we did, and your Easter eggs.
Then watch Andor and love it.
Watch it all the way through. At least, listen, I'm going to say this is not at least until after the heist, right? You have to give it that far. And I'll say this. Yeah, the first couple episodes are a little slow because they're set up, but they're very rewarding to return to after you watch the whole first season. And after you watch the whole first season, you will find those episodes to be much, much more interesting because you'll understand who is doing what, right, and why that matters. And I think it's really just being dropped in to the Andor space that's a little disorienting. But once you get your feet, it's an incredible show.
And then you should watch Rogue One, and then you should watch A New Hope. It makes for a very interesting evening.
And then do jujitsu.
With Andor, leave your expectations outside the door. Just watch the show. So
if you're thinking about the Force, it's something you might not like, which is why I call it Me by Surprise, because it's definitely a complete different gear to Star Wars. And hey, I'm all for it, just like this show. So until everybody next week, this is the way.
This is the way.